The scanner stayed quiet. No beep, no flashing red light, nothing. And yet the officer still looked straight at me, snapped on a fresh pair of gloves, and said, "Ma'am, step out of line." Not asked, told. The terminal didn't go completely silent, but you could feel it tighten like everyone nearby suddenly knew something uncomfortable was about to happen. I remember thinking, wow, here we go again, here we go. This was New Year's Eve just before midnight at a crowded international airport in the Midwest. Snow piling up outside flights delayed people cranky and desperate to get home. I was one of them. All I wanted was to catch my flight back to the East Coast, hug my husband, kiss my kids, maybe open a bottle of champagne if we stayed awake long enough. That was the plan. Simple. Ordinary. Except nothing about that night stayed ordinary. My name doesn't matter, so let's call me Renee. I'm in my late 30s. I run a tech company. Most people have never heard of, and I've spent my adult life learning how to walk into rooms where I wasn't expected and still own the space. I didn't grow up with money. I grew up learning how to read people, how to stay calm when someone tried to size me up, how to smile without shrinking. That night, I was wearing a nice wool coat, good boots, hair pulled back neat and professional. Apparently, that combination made someone curious. The first stop felt almost polite. "Random, check," the officer said, barely looking at me. "Fine. It happens." I handed over my bag. Waited, told myself not to be that person who reads too much into everything. The second stop was slower. My bag went back through the scanner. He stared at the screen a little too long, then at me. "What do you do for work?" he asked. Not casual, not friendly. Sharp. I answered, consulting. He smirked. "Uh-huh." That should have been my first clue. By the third stop, people were watching. By the fourth, they were annoyed. I could feel it, that pressure, like I was somehow responsible for everyone being delayed. I wanted to apologize even though I hadn't done anything wrong. That instinct runs deep when you've spent years being told to keep things smooth, keep things easy. Don't make a scene. Then came the body scanner. "Step in," he said, pointing. I reminded him I'd already cleared pre-check. He shrugged. "Random." The machine spun. I stepped out. He raised his voice just enough for others to hear. Alarm triggered in the chest and hair area. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was absurd. "My hair," I said. "These are braids." He didn't smile. He crossed his arms. "We're going to need a pat-down." At that point, I felt it shift. This wasn't about safety. This was about control, about dragging it out, about seeing how far he could push before I pushed back. I glanced at the clock. My flight was boarding. My jaw tightened. "Let's just do it," I said quietly. So there I was, arms out, feet apart, while another officer ran the back of her hands along my sides, my waistband, my hair. People stared. Some looked away, some didn't. I stared straight at him the entire time. He watched like he was enjoying a show. When it was finally over, I grabbed my bag and walked fast. Heart pounding not with fear, but with that cold, buzzing anger that settles behind your ribs when you know you're being messed with and there's nothing accidental about it. I was almost to the tram when I heard shouting behind me. "Stop!" Security. 2 uniformed airport police officers came toward me. The original officer was behind them, pointing like he'd just caught something. "That's her," he said. "She stole a watch." I actually laughed. Out loud. "A watch," I said. One of the officers told me to put my bag down. His tone was serious now. This wasn't theater anymore. This was escalation. They searched my bag again right there in the hallway. Clothes on the floor, papers out. A couple people whispered. Someone snorted. I didn't bend down to gather anything. I stood there and felt something snap into place inside me. A calm I hadn't felt all night. I didn't take anything I said evenly. This officer has stopped me multiple times for no reason. The accusing officer scoffed. "We'll see," he said. "Empty your pockets." "No," I said. That word landed hard. He blinked like he hadn't heard it correctly. "You don't get to say no," he replied. That's when I reached into my coat slowly, deliberately. One of the police officers tensed. "I'm getting my phone," I said. "I'm calling my attorney." The officer laughed. Oh, this should be good. He had no idea. None at all. Because at that exact moment, I spotted someone I recognized walking out of the lounge, coffee in hand. A senior federal official I'd worked with on a classified project months earlier. Someone who knew exactly who I was and what I did. I called his name. He turned. His expression changed instantly when he saw me surrounded. "What's going on?" he asked. The energy shifted. You could feel it. Like a room when the music stops. Badges came out. Questions started flying. The officer who'd been so loud all night suddenly couldn't get a sentence out without tripping over himself. I pulled out my own credentials then. I hadn't wanted to. I almost never do. But some people don't understand restraint. They only understand consequences. He tried to grab them from my hand. That's when one of the police officers stepped back fast, eyes wide. "Sir," he said quietly to the TSA officer, "you need to stop." They moved us to a private screening room. Windowless, beige walls, a metal table. The accusing officer thought this was where he'd finally win. No cameras, no crowd, just authority and silence. He started pacing, talking faster, louder, accusing me of lying, of thinking I was better than everyone else. "I was doing my job," he snapped. "People like you think you're above the rules." I looked at him and felt something close to pity. I followed every rule I said. "You're the one who broke them." They reviewed the footage. The watch was never stolen. It was stuck to the bottom of a bin found minutes after he accused me. He hadn't checked, he hadn't cared. He just needed a reason. Any reason. When they told him to turn around, he didn't resist. He just deflated. The badge came off. The cuffs went on. I made one request. "Do it out there," I said, the same way he did it to me. So we walked back through the terminal. Me in front. Him behind, hands shaking head down. Phones came out. People stared. Someone whispered, "Is that the guy?" Yeah. That was him. I made my flight. Barely. First class, they said. Happy New Year. I sat there exhausted while the countdown echoed through the terminal behind me. By morning, the video was everywhere. Millions of views, people arguing in the comments, some cheering, some angry. What mattered most were the messages. People telling me their own stories. Times they'd stayed quiet. Times they wished they hadn't. He was fired. Charged. Turns out, this wasn't his first complaint. Or his fifth. Patterns have a way of surfacing when someone finally pulls the thread. I didn't keep the settlement money. I put it toward legal support for travelers who don't have the backup I had that night. Because most people don't. Most people just take it and move on. This wasn't about a watch. It wasn't about security. It was about what happens when someone with a little power meets someone they think they can break. He thought his uniform made him untouchable. He forgot who that uniform is supposed to serve. So here's my question to you. Was I right to push back, or should I have just let it go to keep the peace? Where do you draw the line between compliance and self-respect? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them. And if you've ever been in a situation like this, tell your story. Someone out there needs to hear it.